Hello and welcome to the Talk Seagull Show, episode 3. We're joined with former Albion goalkeeper, youngster, on the bench against Manchester United, if I'm right in saying that.
Yeah, we're in the squad. We'll take that.
I thought if I remembered rightly. Toby Ball, mate. Pleasure to have you on.
Oh, pleasure to be here, mate.
Yeah, very good. Obviously, we are in Grand Central, just outside Brighton Station. It's a great little place here in the Nightingale room upstairs. And mate, how are you, by the way? Because obviously, what was it? June, you say, last year. Obviously, things changed for you, but before that, you're at the club for a good decade.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah, mate, I joined at the age of 10. Was there for, like, say, 10 years, which, like, I'm 20, so half my life, so a long period of my life. And yeah, now I'm enjoying a different sort of lifestyle, I'd say. I think, yes, I miss it. Like, I was there for a very, very long period of time, and it's something that you do find difficult coming out of, but no, I'm good, and I'm enjoying what I do. So yeah, I'm all good.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's good to hear for a start, because obviously it's some young players. I mean, you're 20, which is important to remember that, I think, with people. But let's take it back all the way. You say, what, 10 years? That's 10 years old, joining a club that's what we were 2013. We were in the Championship.
Yeah, Championship, no training ground.
No,
it was a very very different to what the club is now.
It's completely different. But then you've watched the club grow as well as yourself grow. Yeah. What was it like all the way back then? You know, all the way from 2013, seeing Brighton over Albion back then as a kid.
I mean, I didn't think, like, when I joined how big the club was going to become. Like the club is massive now, and I think everyone knows it. Like, you speak to back then, if you sort of go to other countries and people sort of ask you what you do when I was 10, or like my parents speak to them, oh yeah, he plays for Brighton Academy. People are like, oh, he's Brighton, sort of, in a way. Whereas now you can speak to anyone about it and they know exactly what the club is and how big they are. I think back then, like, when you spoke with Danny, he was sort of explaining that we had no training grounds, we were training at different venues. It was Monday would be here, Tuesday there, Thursday there, completely different. Whereas when the training ground got put in, you could sort of see the vision of where the club wanted to go. When I was younger, the club was, I think we had a season where, it was that season where we really struggled in the Championship. And it was not like, I don't think battling relegation, but there was a possibility of it.
Hippier days.
And then, 100%. And then it was playoffs. Obviously, I don't think made it in the playoffs. And as soon as the club got promoted, wow, the whole club changed massively. Like, the stuff they've now built on top of the training ground. The training ground originally was phenomenal, and now what they built on top of it is, it's incredible to sort of see. And it was amazing actually to be a part of, to grow with the club, like from 10 to grow all that way. And the changes you see, like the different players coming in, for example, like Liverpool fan, like I said, and like seeing people like Adam Lallana and stuff come in, and you'll be like, wow, these are like players that won like Champions League and things like that. And you're like, well, okay, now the club is really, really progressing.
We'll take it still back there, because you said you trained with, was it Casper Ankergren? You said,
yeah, Casper, yeah.
Tell me the story a bit about him and some of the senior goalkeepers, because these are huge names in Brighton fans' lives, right? Yeah. Kuszczak, Ankergren, Brezovan back then, but that's probably a bit far out. Actually. Yeah. But there's some big iconic goalkeepers that have played for Brighton. What were they like to work with? Because they say it could be crazy to be a goalkeeper.
Oh yeah, mate. It was so as when I was younger, like 10, 11, 12, I would never train with them, but you might see, especially when the training ground got put in, because we're all now training at the same place, you'd sort of start to see him a bit more. David Stockdale was another one. He was really good with the youngsters. Like, we used to do some like goalkeeper day, where like all the goalkeepers in the academy, first team goalkeepers, would all have like a day, and all spend a day with each other, get to know each other, and that was really good. And it was when the training ground got put in, you could feel the bond of the club really get tighter. There was a better connection between the academy and the first team. Like, let's say when I'm getting a bit older and our games would be on like a Saturday or even like midweek, first team players that were in would then come over and watch. So people like Casper, when I was sort of watching him when I was like 10, so then all of a sudden he was taking my sessions when I was 14, 15, 16, was like, okay, this is like amazing. I'm learning from the best who have been at the club. Like, I say Casper, Stockdale, even like, so even people like Matt Ryan, and learning from people like that, it was, for me, it was really important, because you could sort of see that vision in a way of progressing with the club.
Okay, we'll touch on one goalkeeper you mentioned. You said someone off off air about Kushak.
Yeah.
What was that story?
So Kushak was, so when I joined the club, and I did all my photos, like, I'll say thanks Paul Hazelwood here. He was he took them all and he allowed us into the stadium. 10 years old, like, look completely different, obviously, and I was just like, this is nuts, like taking all these pictures around the Amex. And like me being me and my dad being my dad, quite forgetful, we like forgot to bring like gloves to take pictures with. So Paul we were in the like changing room, and we're like, right, we need to find some gloves. The only ones there were Kujak's gloves, and his hands were like massive. And I'm 10 years old, right? So my hands, I don't have big hands anyway, but my hands when I was like, oh my God. So I put these gloves on, and like I could fold all these fingers down, and I was like, right, how are we going to make this like not look stupid? You know when you get them like big fan gloves?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like I was wearing. So I had this massive kit on, I had to sort of like clench my like hands together, sort of tuck my shirt in behind my back, and even then the pictures were great, but yeah, you could tell that it just looked funny. Yeah, it was pretty nuts. I was like, yeah, I'm wearing these gloves, but there, mate, they were just massive. And yeah, they're memories, you know what I mean? Like, it's a funny story, but it's memory. Like, I'll never forget that, just going around the Amex taking pictures at 10 years old. You know, like when you're little and you watch these players sign for these big clubs and they're going around taking pictures around the stadium. That's how I felt at 10 years old. That will stay with me forever, and that story will just, that will stay with me. So, yeah, it's just amazing.
No, that's good. Okay, so we'll say about, obviously, Brighton getting into Premier League, you getting a bit older, maybe pushing a little bit, to be fair. I think it was during the COVID year. I saw your name on the bench. Was it against Manchester United? Was that in the COVID year, or maybe just before it?
Yeah, so that was
before.
It was sort of the during after bit. So there were fans in the stadium. So luckily I was involved when the stadium was full. But obviously all like we think it's like red zones and green zones were all like applied, and masks I think was still a thing. But luckily there were fans in the stadium, because that just made that whole occasion just unbelievable.
What was it like from start to finish? I mean, obviously you've come up from literally since you were a kid, as you say, and then you've worked so hard all the time to get to that sort of moment where, I know it's on the bench and people think he's only on the bench, but I mean, it must be surreal. I mean, most fans would want to just be pitch side, around these sort of moments. I dream of doing that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think the thing that made it pretty like spectacular was I was on loan that season, and I was playing for a team called Merchant that was step 3 at the time, and so I was playing in front of no more than about 1,000 people each week. So it's still a lot of people, but sometimes they'll play a game, there'll just be like a few hundred. And you're playing on these pitches that like bobbly, and also, so like the week before I played for them against, I can't remember who it was, but just another step 3 team. And then I got told they were calling me back from being on loan. And I was a little, like, I was annoyed at the time. I was sort of like, to my goalie coach, like, I was going, like, things were going really well. I was playing really well, and I was really enjoying my time that I was playing. Like, I think I played over like 30 games, and for a season at that age was like really good for men's football. So initially I was like, I don't know if you call me back for. So I go and watch their game on the Saturday, because obviously they've called me back. But I thought I'll still go watch. They're still my friends. I'll go watch their game on the Saturday. I don't know. I get a call, and coach calls me. He's like, "Oh, Toby, I need you in tomorrow. You're training with the first team." I was like, oh, brilliant. Like, obviously I'd trained with the first team before, but still, great occasion. I'll go in on the Sunday. But then he sort of said, oh, you have to get changed their side and eat their side. So this was COVID time. So the academy was split. So the academy were one side of the building, and the first time the other side of the building. So the academy had to go in around the back, and the first team would go in through the front, and they'd have to test that side, and you had to eat that side, because of COVID, they had to be split. So I was like, okay, this is like quite cool. And I went in and trained on a Sunday, and I noticed it was just like me, Rob, and Steele. I was thinking, where's like, so normally Tom would also travel, and I'd be like, Tom's like, yeah. I was like, okay. And then again, he'd be, I know you're with us again tomorrow. And I was like, okay. So I trained with them again tomorrow, and it was just us 3. And I was like, I swear there's like a game tomorrow. And then like Ben Roberts at the time, he sort of messaged me. He goes, "Oh, Toby, look, it's your plan to come with us to Old Trafford." And I was like, nah, surely not. And like I've still got the picture. So I walked past. They used to had like the team sort of like the team, not team sheet, I'd say like the squad list.
Yeah.
And I've walked past, and I've sort of like checked. Obviously, I've walked past it many a times. Obviously, my name's never been there, so I sort of just walked past it. But like I walked past it, and like I look, I'm like, hold on a minute, that's my name. And I look, and I'm like this is like actually like this is actually happening. I've gone from a week ago playing like step-free football. Again, I was 17, 18? Yeah, 17, 18. Playing good level football, really enjoying my football. So all of a sudden now I'm travelling with the first team to Man United away. I was like, this is incredible.
Even just being around the big names, you say with Jason Steele's been quite known and quite reputable around most Brighton players. Talk about how important he is. Has he spoke to you much in your time? Was he helpful then in that moment?
Oh yeah, massive. He was like, Steele is an unbelievable character, and he's one of the nicest people in football, I think. Like I've ever met. Oh, he's brilliant, and even people like Dunkey and Shane Duffy, who was there at the time, they're unbelievable with the youngsters, like really good. Like I think they could probably tell I was nervous, because of course I was nervous.
You're gonna be.
Yeah, and even like when I was getting changed, like they'd all speak to me and things like that, and it was they're really warming, and it makes you feel like you're part of the group, because I speak to a lot of like my friends at other clubs, and they go with the first team, and not a lot of them speak to them, and you sort of feel a bit segregated. You feel like you're the youngster, whereas with them, they're brilliant. They make you feel like you're part of them. And it was an unbelievable. Like we flew up on the same day, flew back. Like obviously the game lost 2-0, but Ronaldo scored, and like the whole stadium went mental. Just the whole experience and like warming up on the pitch. It was I'd say it was the best. Yeah, the best experience I've ever had in football. And like I said, one I'll never forget, and I was so fortunate enough to have that experience.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Robert Sanchez as well, you mentioned his name. Did you speak to him much? I mean, he's got a bit of a reputation.
I think it's one of the, like I'd still say I'm close with Rob. Like because he came in at under 18s.
Okay.
So when I was younger and said I'd train up with the 18s, he'd always be there, and like we always spoke to each other, and we knew of each other quite well. And obviously then when I went up, whenever I trained with him, he was a fan of mine. He liked the way I play, and it was we got on well. See, everything that's happened at the club, I think it's a shame, and there's stuff behind that, and I think sometimes with football stuff happens for a reason, and it's a shame really how it's turned out, because he was brilliant, and he started from the club at such a young age, and I think it's one of them where unfortunately it didn't work out, but again that is football, unfortunately. And he could have maybe done things in a different way, but also at the same time he'll look back on his time at the club, and he'll look back on it well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he made his Premier League debut. You saw some of his performances were incredible, and it's obviously it's a shame what's happened and the way it sort of ended, but I think he'll always look back on his time at the club and be like, that this was brilliant, like the club that helped him get to where he is now, like a Spanish international, for example. So
I've heard some rumours about him, about his training. Apparently, isn't as bad as what everyone made out to be. Is that true? Is that right? I mean, is he a good trainer? I mean, obviously, Brighton fans now, as a general rumour, people think he sort of didn't care. But I imagine it's probably different, or was it?
Yeah. So like someone gave him a bit of grief on Twitter, I think a while back, and I sort of stuck up for him a little bit, because what a lot of fans don't see sometimes what goes on inside the club. So like he was like, Rob was incredible. Like he would just do things, and you'd be like, how on earth are you saving that? Like he had everything. Like he literally, like the size, the speed, like his hands. He had like everything, and I'm thinking, like, what I'd do to like be that level. Do you know what I mean? But I think sometimes he sort of, I don't know, was it mentality? I can't say it's mentality, because he's a Premier League player. Like you have to have good mentality to become a Premier League player and to be a Spanish international. But maybe it was, I don't know, it was, not ego, but I don't know really what happened. But no, he was a good trainer. Like he was very good, but maybe just a bit hot-headed. But a lot of players are hot-headed. Yeah. So I think it's, I would say he was absolutely fine in training. He was a brilliant trainer, and I think it was, there's stuff that's gone inside the club which obviously I don't really want to like get into, and stuff like that. That's for if he wanted to say anything and if the club wanted to say anything. But yeah, when I've seen some Brighton fans give him stick, I'm like, hold on a minute. It's not all what it seems sometimes. Like, I think people forget how much he's actually done for the club, and he was a good servant to the club in my eyes. Obviously, people have their own opinion, but to me, I thought he was a really good servant to the club.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, we'll move on to yourself, obviously. Left in June, as I said. You said about aftercare isn't always easy. You see a lot of stories of particularly young players when they've left the club. There's not always as much choice as they would like, and you say you've been at that club for so long. It's practically all that you know, really. You went to school there, really. I mistakenly thought you went somewhere else, but talk to me about that. So you've grown up literally in one home, haven't you?
Oh, literally, like I was saying, it was my life since I was 10 years old.
What happens after that?
It's a hard one. Like, there's people there at the club that it's their job. Like, there's someone there like who has like an aftercare job, and it's difficult because he's not a coach. So I hadn't dealt with him every single day. Like, you might see him, but I hadn't dealt with him every single day as I do with like the coaches. So realistically, with the aftercare, I want that support from the coaches, from the people that I have a close connection with, and not just someone that like it's just their job. Oh, Toby, how are you getting on? Or maybe you should look at this, or maybe you should look at that. Like, I want that support from the people that I've worked with like every day, and it's there's support there. Of course, there's support there, but it has to come from the player initially, and players who might understand this a little bit better because obviously we've been in it is sometimes when you've had something where someone's let you go or you're not wanted there anymore, because that is the harsh reality, you're not wanted there, otherwise they would have kept you. It's hard for you to reach out to them because you're like, well, they don't want you, why are you going to bug them in a way? But that's not the case. There's support there, but you have to reach out for it. And I don't think they get that message across well enough. I think realistically there should be more support with how much they can do and get that message across to them and be like, look, we have got all of this for you, but you need to come to us with it. I didn't know this until like I've actually gone out myself and spoken to these people. But yeah, I think from, like I told you when I'd done that sort of interview with like the Times newspaper, it was, I said things where I didn't feel like there was a lot of support from the coaches. And I understand that these coaches have really busy lives. Like they have their jobs and their families, and they've got, for example, a squad is 20 odd so players. So they've got that to think about. They can't think about the boys that they probably just let go. But realistically, how much time out of your day does it take to send like a quick message? Oh, mate, how are you getting on?
Yeah.
Doesn't take a lot, does it? And just little things like that go, yeah, that actually means a lot, because it means they still care, and it's still like in their thought process. Like I would, like when I said I came out and I'd worked with these people for a very long period of time, and this is how it feels. Obviously, it's probably not the case, but it's how it feels. As soon as you're out the door, that's it. Like you're gone, and that's how it felt. I'm not saying that's the case, but that is how it feels. Like as soon as you're out the door, that's it. It's not like they've completely forgotten about you, but that's it. Their duty of care sort of goes, and they'll say different. Of course they will, but that's just sort of how it felt to me personally.
You have to justify it. If that's what you felt, that's what you felt. You can't change that.
Yeah, and that's how it felt for me personally. Was as soon as you step out that door, that sort of relationship goes. And I mean, they'll say things like, "Oh, you can come to us," but like I said, I'm 20 years old. Like I'm a young boy that's just been released from a club I've been at for 10 years. Should it be down to me to sort of ask these people for support that are 30, 40, 50 years old, that understand it really well, who understand the system really well? Probably not. There should probably be more from there. So like I said, just a little message goes a really long way. And I'm not saying this is all the people, by the way. Like I have had messages from certain people at the club, but there have been people that I've worked with for a long period of time at that club that I have not heard from at all. And I think that's, for me, that's tough. Like 10 years old to 20, work with these people, and then that's it. Don't hear from them.
Yeah, it is mad. I think I think it's mad because, as you say, it's more the period of time you've been there is so significant. Like it's literally you said about your best memories.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's like
literally,
the memories that you've literally remembered since. It's your capacity of memory, isn't it? If you know what I mean. So okay, for your perspective, just getting out of that and trying to bounce back. What is it you have to do? Because obviously, if you're not getting, I'm not saying you aren't getting the support, but if you're not getting enough that you feel like you need, what do you do? You know, because you've got one or two ways, haven't you, with players? I said a lot of sad stories about players, unfortunately, but also there's others that bounce back and, you know, sometimes use it as a bit of motivation, want to go back and prove everyone wrong, and that's great. For you, what is it? How do you come back?
I mean, everyone's story is different.
Exactly, yeah.
And people go, oh yeah, but you can speak to loads of people. But I think everyone's story is different and everyone's pathway is different. Like when I came out, my mindset straight away was like, right, how do I get back into football? Actually, well, I say that. My first mindset straight away was like, actually, I'm going to enjoy some time with my friends and with my family. That was my first thought process was, okay, I'd spent 10 years here. What is my next 2 months going to look like? So I went on 3 holidays. I was spending loads of time with my friends. My family was playing loads of golf. And I was like, okay, now I'm just going to enjoy some time, because when you are there, that is, especially the last 4 years I was there, because it was my job, it was, okay, just breathe a little. I can sort of wake up and I have a little bit of freedom. So that was my first thought process. But after that, I was like, right, now I need to get into football, and what am I going to do? And I went on trial at a few places, and unfortunately it didn't work out. You sometimes get given some false promises, and unfortunately it didn't work out for me going into places. So when I got a few sort of months down the line, I was sort of going, right, what am I going to do here? And I think you're the only one that's going to do it for yourself.
Exactly.
And my dad always tells me that, and he drums it in on me, like, realistically, you are the only one that can push it for yourself. So that is the first thing I'd say. You have to put yourself out there, and no one is going to do it for you. Even though they say it, especially in the football world, there's a lot of people out there.
It's the same in the media.
Oh, there's a lot of people out there that make false promises.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'll help you, mate. I'll help you, mate. And
no
they say it because they think, and they don't. And yeah, you have to push it for yourself. Whether you want to go into football, and whether that's just calling managers, calling clubs, you have to do it for yourself. And I didn't really realise that until a couple months down the line, which is probably a bit too late. But at least I've learnt it now, and I'll take that as a learning curve, because I was young. I'd never been released before, and which was very rare from a boy that had been in academy from the age of 10 who had never been released before. Is a very rare thing. Very rare that players are there for a long period. Most of the boys I was with when I was in the 21s and stuff, most of them had been at other clubs. I think Brighton was my only ever club, which is pretty mad to think about. So I'd never been released before. So for me, it was a brand new experience, and I had to learn pretty quickly. At least I've learnt that now. But unfortunately, I'd probably say it's a little bit too late. I think I trusted people a bit too much. I trusted people's word.
It's quite normal.
Yeah.
I think, when you're that age, I'd probably done the same in the media world. You trust people, you give them too much information, you've told them too much stuff, and then next thing you know, they're doing something similar to what you just said. Oh, how ironic is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's the same for so many things. I watch what I say here. I don't know who's watching, but no, it's true. And for you, social media, while we're on the subject, you've been doing quite a lot of that, and that's actually almost a way of you getting back out there a little bit. And I have noticed you ramped up the content style and putting some goalkeeper stuff out there. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. I like the angle. It's different. Not many goalkeepers do that. I say goalkeepers specifically because you see a lot of free kicks. You see a lot of great penalties, try and do overhead kicks, God knows what else. But actually, goalkeeping in itself is a skill. Not many people do it for a reason. I couldn't put myself in net face against 80 mile an hour shots every day. You're insane, right? But talk to me about that and also the social media thing of trying to get yourself back out there again.
So I think a lot of the social media, I'm fortunate enough to work with a glove brand called Lynx. Just a little shout out there. But I'm fortunate enough to work with them, who are very big on social media. So the owner there's helped me a lot in terms of how to sort of put myself out there in the social media world. Because realistically, are my videos going to get me a club? Probably not. Just because like scouts will go and watch games. That realistically they're going to go watch a game and sort of sign someone off that instead of my like 15-second video of me like clawing one out of the top corner where they're probably, it's probably taken like 15 seconds. So I sort of do it as, I enjoy it, like I do really enjoy it. I like helping people, like I get loads of messages about, oh, can you help me with this? And I love helping people, and I think there's not a lot of goalkeeper stuff out there, like you said. There's loads of goalkeeper content out there, but it's all just like fun stuff, like GoPros in the goal. But I think possibly the route I want to go down is in the social media is how can I help people with goalkeeping? Like if you're a player and you want to like improve your fitness or something, outfield player this is, or even like say you're working in the gym, you can go onto place and there's loads of stuff out there where you can improve yourself. Whereas for me, I don't think there's a lot of stuff out there where if you're a young boy, or even like say you wanted to start goalkeeping, where
5'8",
yeah, well, never too. There's where would you go really to help you improve? And you could like, there's maybe a few bits on YouTube, or you could go join your local Sunday league club or find a goalie coach. But I don't know how much like good quality goalkeeping there is.
Yeah.
And I don't, like I say, I don't want to start like slagging anyone off in a way, but there is. I've been involved in some like goalkeeper or seen a lot of goalkeeper sessions, and I'm like, that's not really going to improve them. And I've been I'm really fortunate enough to, like I said, I work with like Casper Ankergen, Ben Roberts, for example, and I've been fortunate enough to work with some unbelievable goalkeeper coaches and be in sessions where it's like the quality is unbelievable, and the session quality is unbelievable. Like for example, Ben Roberts sessions, like I would class him as one of the best goalkeeper coaches in the country. Yeah. And the amount of times I've trained with him, so I have that experience. So I'm really fortunate enough, and I think that shouldn't just be kept in that sort of little bubble. I think a lot of younger children should be exposed to this, and that should be online because they can't just come in and train with the first team. Yeah. So if I can help people with that, I think that would be really good. And the social media route would be brilliant for that. It just you have to work out how it looks, and I have to think about my football career as well. Like
of course,
people might see that and be like, "Oh, he's just thinking about social media." No, like I still want to play. It's just that's just an alternative route, and I think that's another thing I'll touch on. So I in my last year at the club, I studied a football business and management course.
What, within Brighton?
No, so I looked at that externally. So I went through it with the PFA. So I studied that in my sort of final year, and sort of some people looked at me like, "What's he doing that for?" And I'm like, "Why can I not like better myself and learn things away from football?" It doesn't mean that like a coach, for example, be like, "Oh, what are you doing that for? That's taking your focus away from football." And I was like, "That's so like backwards thinking. Like, why can't I study at the same time as I play, and why can't I learn at the same time as I play? Like, I'll be at the training ground from 8:30 till 2, for example. That's sort of what a professional's day would look like. So I have till 2 till like 11 o'clock. I have that time. I'm not going to be training, am I? So like, why can't I do a skill where I'm going to learn? And yeah, I think I see it as how can I better myself also away from football, because I can't play football 24/7. As much as I love playing football and I love football, I think some people sort of saw that as, oh no, his focus is away from football.
It's a good point. And I think I actually want to mention, you say about Ben Roberts being so good at what he does, and you say about overall coaching and stuff like that. But Ben Roberts got a lot of praise at Brighton, a lot of praise. And to be fair, he completely deserved it. When you look back on some of the goalkeepers that we had, he undoubtedly made them better. Made them better. I mean, you look at Sanchez to begin with, was a bit sketchy, then became a lot better. You saw Matty Ryan when he started, bit sketchy, got better. Stockdale the same.
You could even obviously, I don't want to bring it up, but Chelsea is obviously a bit of a sore subject with Brighton fans. But when he went into Chelsea, like, look at how well Kepa started doing. And people are like, but I sort of knew when he went in there, I knew he would have that impact because I've worked with him. And
what does he do? What is it that makes him so
good? It's him as a person.
Is it?
I generally would say it is him as a person, and the person is is really important. Like anyone can put on a good drill. Anyone can do that. But how they execute it and how they speak to you off the pitch and make you feel like he really made me feel really confident. Like really confident. I don't know how he done it, but just his personality and the way he would do things he'd like challenge me. And I played a semi-final game in the 17s Premier League Cup at the Amex, and I didn't know he was like watching, and I played like really, really well. And then I think we trained like a few days later, and he came over and watched, and just like little things like he sort of came over and went, "Flippin' hell, you've got bollocks, ain't ya?" Because I was just doing things that he sort of wouldn't expect. Like I'm a bit of a out there goalkeeper, like I'd like Cruyff turn someone, or just try and like sidewind it. Which some people like, some people don't like. But I was a very confident goalkeeper. Like I'd do a lot of confident things, and I wouldn't be scared to make mistakes. And he really liked that about me.
It's very Brighton DNA.
Yes, and he sort of made me feel even more confident with my ability, and just like little things. I'm not saying him just coming over and praising me, but him even challenging me. Like say I would do something wrong, but no, like you're better than that, and you know what you should do. And yeah, just little things. Just him as a person, I think he just gets the best out of people, and that is a skill. Like that is a really important skill. It's a skill with managers. If you're a manager and you can get the best out of people, like obviously Liverpool win the Carabao Cup last night. Klopp is a leader, and he knows how to get the best out of people. That is the reason why they won. Because did they have the better players on the pitch?
No,
not a chance.
No,
but he knows how to get the best out of them. He knows how to let them play with freedom, and I think that's the thing. He gave me freedom, and he gave me confidence, and I think he does that with every single one of his goalkeepers. I think they say Matty Ryan was a prime example. Rob was a prime example. That as soon as you play with goalkeeping, I'd say most of it is all about confidence. If you're confident, you're unbelievable. Like you feel like nothing beats you.
No, it's true.
Yeah, if he lets you play with that confidence, you're flying.
Did you speak to Roberto Di Matteo much? Or was he a bit before you? I mean, I'm just thinking of the people that are there. It was because obviously people say about his man management. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Yeah. And it keeps coming back to a similar thing. I asked Danny a similar sort of thing on the last episode of everyone always talks about, it's not so much about the on the pitch stuff, it's off it. Yeah. Those sort of people, have you spoke to him much, or was it more the youth coaches that helped you a lot?
I would say like for me, not as much as I would have wanted to. Like obviously I spoke about the Old Trafford situation. This shows how mad football is. So obviously you went to Old Trafford, a few weeks later I'm having a shoulder operation because I messed my shoulder up, and then all of a sudden I was out for like 9 months. Not because of I had a shoulder op, and unfortunately the operation didn't go well. So then I had to have another op. So I was out for a long period of time. So it shows you the highs and lows of football. Like I was the highest high ever. Yeah. All of a sudden I was in the lowest low. And obviously whilst I was injured, Graham Potter left and Ben left, who was quite important for me. And I think when I tried to then get back into it, I struggled. I didn't train with the first team nowhere near as much as I used to. And I'd never had that. Unfortunately, I never really had a relationship with that manager. But that, again, because I was never really over there.
Yeah.
Even speaking to some of like the younger goalkeepers that are there now, not so much. But again, that's because they're not playing. I think I'm quite close with Jack Hinchelwood, and again, he absolutely loves the manager, and he makes him feel like really confident and stuff like that. So I think if you're playing and you're in the squad, he makes you feel, he does make you feel really good, and he does really challenge players. Like I saw it in training, like he really challenges players, and he does get the best out of them. If you're not performing, you know about it. Like even the fans have seen it. Like if players aren't performing or they're just crazy. They're not cut out for the job, that's it. You won't play. So he does challenge people. But again, he does make people play with confidence. But for me personally, unfortunately, I never really had that much of a relationship with him, which
that's fair enough.
Yeah, I would have loved to, but unfortunately for me, it just didn't happen.
Just to finalise on it, I just want to know. So I asked a similar question before, and I think the growing of youth players at Brighton is obviously probably one of the most. It's become quite boring now. Yeah. Everyone talks about
Everyone's annoyed. Well, right. If you're not a Brighton fan, you're annoyed by it.
Yeah, and I think if you're a Chelsea fan, you've probably got a book about it right somewhere. But I mean, is it true? Is everything that people say true? And in your experience, you can't speak for anyone else, of course, but in your experience, is it true?
Yeah, it's there. Like you can see it. It's if I was still there, and for example, if I was just go and play in the first team, they give you that confidence that you deserve to be there, and because the system's the same, and that's important. If you don't know the system, you can't fit into it. So the way the 21s would play would be the same as the way like the first team would play. So there's that pathway for even like the younger boys, and the recruitment as well. Like you have to have certain levels of ability. If you can't like receive it and turn and play, they're not gonna sign you. But yeah, it's there, and that pathway is there, and it's more that feeling. Like I spoke about with Klopp, for example, and the young boys coming through who played hardly any minutes. It's the same at Brighton. There's boys that would make their debut or come on, and because they give you that confidence, you fit into it right away, and because you know the system, you fit in right away. And like Jack is a prime example. He was training with him for a long period of time. As soon as the manager thought he was ready, because Jack's been training with him, he's like, right, I'm going to give you that confidence. There you go.
Yeah.
And look how well he's done. He wouldn't have done that if the manager hadn't given him that confidence and that trust.
Yeah.
So it's there, and the pathway is definitely there, but you have to prove it, and you also have to buy yourself a little bit of time. Like I spoke to some of the boys there, and some of them might feel a little bit hard done by. They're like, oh, why have I not had my chance? And unfortunately, you need a bit of luck, but it's definitely there. Like if you get your chance and you take it, you're in there. Yeah, you are in.
Yeah. Okay, for you then, just to finalise everything, we've talked about you coming up, you sort of having that low, then the injury, of course, Brighton, going from sort of nothing into quite a bit of something. And obviously for yourself, you're building a bit on TikTok or on Instagram, sort of, should I say, and now you just signed with a new club, haven't you, as well? Mm-hmm. How do you get yourself from here to where you could be and where you want to be in the next sort of 5 to 10 years? Where does Toby Ball go?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I know you don't want to predict the future.
No, it's a great question because it makes me think, and it's I believe in my ability. Like my friends would call me stupid, but even like a few years ago, they'd be like, "Oh, if you play in the Prem game, like, how do you think you'll get on?" And I think, I'd say, yeah, I'm not going to be unbelievable, but I feel like I'll be okay. So, yeah, you have to get that like
confidence.
Yeah, and I lost a lot of confidence. I said like after I got injured, I had like zero confidence and trying to get back in, and I had a goalkeeper coach that sometimes we didn't necessarily see eye to eye. Brilliant coach, like he's a very good coach, and he's worked with some top goalkeepers and have made him unbelievable. But we necessarily didn't see eye to eye, and he didn't give me a lot of confidence. I just don't know if he knew how to get the best out of me. I was a very different goalkeeper, so I think what he was used to working with. So my confidence levels were rock bottom. When I got released, my confidence levels were rock bottom, and I'd still
like yourself now.
I'm definitely building it back up.
Yeah.
And I think I'm still getting to that level where I know I can get to. Obviously, my injuries didn't help. When you're injured, you're obviously not going to be confident. But I feel fit. I feel back to the level. And I just think for me, I need to have a good season where I play a lot of games and I can sort of then show people what I can do. And then I think I'll be back to where I can get to. And I think, am I good enough to play professional football? Of course I am. Like I know I can do that. I just need the confidence, I think. And
a bit of trust and faith, maybe.
Well. I need someone to sort of believe in me, and like people class me as like I'm not a training goalkeeper. Like I need to play. I thrive off playing. Like I'm better playing than I probably would be training because I just get that extra bit of buzz. So for me, like my best season was when I was like one of the under-18 seasons when we won that Premier League Cup, and I had a good, I want to say like 6 months or so where I played continuously, and because I know I was going to play and I knew I was playing well, and my performance levels just went from like there to there because I knew I was playing. I had a manager that believed in me, who gave me the freedom to play. So for me, that's where I need to get myself back to, and then I'll sort of see where my career can take me because I know I'm good enough, and obviously people tell me I know I'm good enough, but there's no point saying that. I need to
Yeah,
prove it and be consistent with it. Like, my injuries don't help. Like, unfortunately, I got injured earlier in the season as well when I was playing for a non-league club. So I need to prove to people, one, that I can play at the level, and two, that I can do it consistently. So I've got to stay fit throughout a whole season and perform at a very good level. And then I think more clubs will then start to come in, because even if I'm a club and I go, oh yeah, he's good, but he can only play for 15 games or so, or he has ups and downs. You want someone that can, especially for a goalkeeper, you need to be able to trust him. They need to stick at a level and maintain it. So that's where I need to get myself to. And then I think, I can do anything really, whether that be on the pitch and off the pitch. I think I'd still do both things, and it would just build. Yeah, build on both.
Nice.
Yeah.
Toby, absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
No worries.
Nice one. Thank you all for joining us again at Grand Central. Make sure that you visit the link in the description. We'll have all the links to Grand Central Brighton. You can pre-book using that link in the description, of course. 20% off your food if you say the Albion home and the special requests. And that's just about everything, Toby. Thank you for joining me, mate. And we'll see you next time. Make sure you stream on Apple, Spotify, and everything else. Put it on as well, by the way. Do that. Follow his social. We'll see you soon.